in a very deep philosophy part. We wanted to create a marketplace where people can freely do business based on properties for real estate ownership.
So kind of the purpose of this interview is as part of my report for the Winston Churchill Memorial Trust. It's a funded report to investigate how fractionalization, particularly kind of fractional ownership, can drive home ownership rates in the UK, and particularly what we can learn from countries like the Netherlands, Germany and the US. So hence why I reached out to you. It would be great to if you could do an introduction and to know a little bit more about you, Raymond.
My name is Raymond. I am a serial entrepreneur / investor. I've been dealing with startup companies and disruptive technology in my whole career, and I'm a very passionate businessman.
Well, yeah, let's start off with your journey to ASIO. Can you tell us a bit about what you and your co-founder were trying to achieve in setting up that company?
We could connect real estate market as an assets class with tokenized blockchain-based new economy together.
How you brought ASIO home to market, and what were your big challenges in doing so?
The basic thoughts there with ASIO Home is there are some facts we know from real estate. First, the liquidity part is really bad. Whenever you really need the cash or need to cash out or whatever, it's very difficult and it takes a long time. Even the smallest apartment will cost at least 6 figures of dollars, but also the law environment, the regulatory environment was not friendly actually for real estate owners or someone who wants to become real estate owners. The transaction is, of course, gated by many different parts of the society and department, government, and so on. Is that really so? Is that really how this world should work? That's the question we've been asking. We see that real technology trend is actually going in a direction that it's enabling that people can overcome these barriers I just mentioned. One of the solutions is to tokenize those assets or to make it into fractional pieces. The other thing is, of course, that real estate traditionally is very capital intensive. The smallest unit is actually already very expensive. For the 20-year-old young person, it's quite difficult to get that level. So that means, okay, you can either work very hard the whole life, and after 20 years, you might reach that level or somehow, or if there is any possibility giving you to own smaller pieces of the assets. Not everyone has a rich family background, but many people who are not from those rich families still want to plan their life. So basically the solution is fractionize or tokenize, it's called also tokenize those property assets into smaller pieces, but not physical, but digital.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Obviously, fractionalization is a hot topic at the moment. You've got sort of NFTs flying everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it would be really helpful to understand what your proposition was and the role of kind of blockchain within that, and kind of the potential you think it holds.
Blockchain has a bright future. I do believe that we are on the way toward this digital life in the future more and more, and many things will be fractionized in the future into smaller pieces. Again, not only physically, but also sometimes just digitally, but the technology will make that possible. I am not someone who is like, Bitcoin is the future, let's buy Bitcoin over everything else. I'm not that kind of fan of the whole thing, but I do believe that there will be a seat on the table for the blockchain technology related new economy in the future, in the near future, actually. If we talk about to tokenize or digitalize our physical world assets, the new economy, it will take a long time and it will go through different areas and different sectors. Today, we still don't really know exactly what could happen earlier and what could happen later and so on. It depends on a lot of things and sometimes also even unexpected event like Corona could either help or even kill the new trend and so on. But the trend is still quite clear. It has pros and cons, of course. The pro part is, okay, the government will give every property owners the possibility to prove the ownership, and also from the other side to protect the safety of owning this property and so on. And the con side is, of course, there's a lot of bureaucratic stuff and too many governments, different departments are governing you. If you need to do any change or whatever change, you need to go through 10 different offices and departments to make it happen, or sometimes it can't be happen at all. Plus, there's a lot of laws, a lot of unnecessary process costs related. For example, I guess if we put it in numbers, it's like, okay, normally if you want to buy or sell, it doesn't matter. So if you want to do a transaction of real estate property, what would you pay as, just fees or so, not for the asset itself, but for some services or some process fees and so on. There's maybe a real estate agent, realtor fees. There is maybe a property tax or transaction tax. And then there might be other things like advertising fees and whatever. Depending on in which country, which location, and so on and so forth, the costs will be a little different, but we are talking about at least 5, 6, even 10% to 30 or even 35% per transaction. If we are talking about a property which is worth at $1 million, then 35% is a huge number, and you just pay that number for actually nothing. So it's not productive. It's not giving anyone any more value. Okay, it's giving service guys and government more value, but it's not really giving the world more value. It's just pure costs, and it's actually not necessary.
Thank you. A fascinating sort of walk through there. I guess thinking about kind of where I'm coming from, writing a report, obviously, on kind of what the UK can learn from other countries. To what degree do you think some of that bureaucracy was kind of German specific? I know from friends that you've got to get everything notarized in person in Germany, and there's various sort of hurdles to jump through. To what degree that's German specific, or do you think kind of worldwide, for any kind of idea that would want to scale, they'd need to take this into consideration?
If we talk about for example, Germany as the example country. First of all, Germany is a country which is actually very famous about its government-related process and so on. It's the bureaucratic part is actually big, but that's not all. Even bigger barrier for Asio Home to become true earlier or even now. I think it's the regulations about the tokenized economy, or let's say the blockchain-based new economy. Back in 2018 or 17, it was totally unclear. So it was too new, and even ICO was too new to every country and so on. And no government actually knew what to do about that. And if that's okay, legit or not legit, or what is it about the tax, and do you really want to allow that to happen? Nobody knows. In Germany, there's also this department. We also even consulted with them. what to do. And of course, they didn't know as well. There's no laws or regulations about all that. So that means even okay, there are two possibilities. Okay, if we somehow made ASIO Home happen before those new regulations came out and so on, then the risk is there after the new regulation or new laws come out. So from today, overnight you could be not legit business anymore. So the risk is very high because you can't know what will come. And so the other possibility is okay to wait until the regulations and laws come out, and then according to that you can really readjust the model and the tokenization process and so on. But then you will be in a situation where the initial investment for the costs doing all that is very, very high. That means investment, like investment injection from outside world is absolutely needed. So in both cases, it was not really doable for a startup company like ASIO back then. And of course, the founders started to invest own money into the business and so on. We did that as well. In 2018, I guess ICO become too much hype, and many countries started to do something against that. And we saw the trend that the possibility of Germany doing something against that is very high. So that's also why we decided to put ASIO Home in pause. This is a controversial new field where a lot of discussions is going on, where it should go and so on. In this case, there are governments or countries who are more open, and there are the other way around. Some countries are the other way around. I guess UK is a little bit more open than Germany in general, especially about financial innovations, so fintech related businesses and so on. So Germany is actually one of the countries which is in a very traditional and not that risk taker kind of country.
Thanks, Raymond. And again, fascinating and really interesting to hear that actually some of the hesitancy of the German government to come out one side or the other kind of, very tangibly stifled innovation that you were doing. I wanted to just bring us back to some of what you were talking about earlier around the kind of capital intensive nature of real estate, and I guess the difficulty that young people find in getting on the ladder. It'd be great to hear from you how you think models like ASIO Home can help young people achieve home ownership in the way that we traditionally think about it. So how can you go from owning a digital asset, a kind of metaphorical brick, to having kind of keys to your own place?
I wanted to explain this in maybe two steps. So the first step is to look at the asset itself. So I know that many young people are very excited about new digital economy, especially lately NFT and so on is so very much hype, and everybody got excited and so on. I'm not saying that NFT is not good, but let's just look at the assets behind that, or underlying assets. So the underlying assets of the normal NFT or any, let's say, non-fungible token kind of type. So in that case, the ownership, I think the focus of an NFT or non-fungible token is the ownership itself. The whole model or concept will ensure that someone can claim the ownership anywhere, anytime, to any whom. So to anyone. It's not possible for someone else to claim, okay, you know what, this is actually mine, not you. So this kind of thing. There's also some disadvantages over there. For example, we talked about the liquidity problem. If you tokenize NFT and so on, then maybe it's affordable, although the NFTs, so the pictures or whatever, they cost $3 million or whatever. So it's not really that affordable anymore. But still, the original idea is to make it smaller so that it's not so much capital intensive anymore. But what about liquidity? And it's the liquidity problem is still there. Of course, you can say, yeah, I can exchange this NFT with someone who has dollar in hand and so on, he wants to buy. But is that really so? If you have NFT worth $30 million, so it's not that easy to really find someone to exchange with you. And also the non-fungible characteristic is the beauty part, but at the same time also the problem part, because you only own a fractional piece of something, but just the specific part of that piece. Not every piece you can see, but only a specific part. It means if we make it, we fractionize the Trump Tower, for example, and I have the money and the interest to buy the lamp in the hall. Okay, and I own the NFT or token represents the lamp there, and so if I really want, sometime I really want to sell this asset, and the other buyer, the other guy, he needs to be interested not only in Trump Tower pieces, but also this special lamp. So that becomes very, very difficult then. That's the problem I see from the non-fungible parts. The ASIO home concept would go the other way. It would go with a fungible token way. That means, yes, we would tokenize bigger properties into smaller pieces, digital secured pieces, but every piece is the same. So it's a little bit like currency, money and so on. So every dollar is a dollar, so it's the same dollar, and so on. So but instead of talking about a currency, we are talking about a piece of real world. So the ownership represents not only that you can claim to the world that I am a proud owner of these properties and so on, but also that you get the real benefit from that. So it's a real estate property is actually a working machine. So it will generate rent, and rent is going to give you profit back. Yeah, this is some assets that also produce value. Based on that, going a further step, you as an owner, you can actually get the benefit of the using side. So like you can really use the property. So the real estate, whatever, we're talking about residential more or less. And that means you can really also take the property as home. Of course, in this case, if you don't own the whole property, you need to pay rent for that. But deep down there, you know that you are paying the rent partially for yourself. So you are paying yourself also because you are part of the owner. And in this case, not only the total cost, living cost will reduce, but also the major psychology difference is also there. The psychology needs of owning real estate or owning a home is also like, okay, I have my own place and I have the safety feeling here because it's my own place.
That was really helpful, and I think Raymond explained to me more precisely what NFTs are than I've heard of late. So thank you for that. And I think that's really interesting about kind of the productiveness of the asset in the UK. I think there were stats that came out a couple of weeks ago of if you'd saved through the entire of last year, given the kind of inflation and house price rise, you would be actually worse off in terms of getting a deposit for a home. So being able to kind of invest in something that tracks that market and gives you a return, you can really understand how that becomes that's part of your home ownership journey. So thank you for walking us through that. I didn't realize it was a part of your proposition to really bring together that investment with kind of tangible, real ownership as we understand it. Conscious of time, Raymond, I know we're covering a lot. I guess I wanted to spend a bit of time. You're active, as you say, in the startup scene in Germany and beyond, I'm sure. What approaches to unlocking liquidity and driving home ownership in real estate are you getting excited about? Obviously what you did was really interesting. Is there anything out there that you're getting excited about?
Yeah, that's a great question. As an investor, I call it what I do is entrepreneurial investing. What it means is like, okay, I'm not one of the traditional kind of investors who go to the stock market and buy stocks over there to invest either long-term or short-term. Instead of that, it's like I believe the power and the value of long-term business development. Also mentioned this term like the underlying asset, or in this case, the underlying business. If the underlying business is it's a great business, a fantastic business, which generates cash flow and positive activities, healthy environments, not only for the company itself, but also actually to bigger environment and so on, then that's a fantastic thing. So I believe the value in this in general. That means I help create new companies, and I also create new companies myself with other people's help, with co-founders and my investing partner. We are very active looking for new opportunities or new innovative ideas and so on. Not everything must be disruptive or so. So if you do this, then you know what, the traditional industry will be killed and so on. No, not really only that. And I believe that a good business, a qualified, great business will always generate good amount of positive cash. And of course, in a legit and fair way, not by doing something evil or so. And if we can find those businesses, that would be a fantastic thing. So this is actually basically what I do.
Brilliant. And any projects you're working on Raymond, or maybe you want to keep it under wraps, or kind of businesses that you're working with who are kind of taking a new approach in this area?
Yes, you guessed right. I can't really say what we are really on right now. But what I can say is, also in general, we are looking at the possibilities and the new opportunities between or cross countries, cross borders. Although the bigger environment or the latest political environment is doing actually something the other way around to close doors in each country and so on, and also due to a corona effect and so on, practically not very open and possible yet to be very open. But if you look at the longer term trend of human being going somewhere, it's still in that direction where globalization is a huge trend. And we might have some setbacks several years maybe, but in the long run, if we're talking about 100 years or even longer, then that trend is very clear. And even not only cross borders, but cross planets or so, given what Elon Musk has been doing. And so there's a lot to do between different nations and different locations and so on. This is currently some focus we're in. And also you can find areas where the fundamental business can generate positive cash, or at least after the investment period, it can generate decent positive cash profit and so on. And those kind of business we are quite intensive in there.
Brilliant, thank you, Raymond. It's clear it's not the last we'll hear from you in this area, and maybe it's intergalactic real estate or something.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time today.